This second session, as I was saying, is from ecosystem services to economic value, some case studies. And what does economic value mean? We have been discussing since morning and so on. But we have given a small brief also in the program schedule itself as to what this session will focus on. This session starts at 4:30 and will end at 6:30, a 2-hour session. We have the chair is Mr. Anand Sharma. He is the Deputy Director General of Indian Meteorological Department from New Delhi. He was with us also at the first Himalayan Dialogue at Shulni University in Solan. Mr. Anand Sharma, you can always be sure he is there with you now. So जब next time आपको देखना हो कि बारिश हो रही कि नहीं हो रही है, you can just text him or call him. I'm sure he will be able to give you the right information. We were very worried tonight after this 6:30 is over, this session is over. We're planning to have a bonfire. So we wanted to know whether it will rain or not. So he has told us that it's not raining, so we are sure now. So we can have a bonfire. So it's always good to have a weatherman with you. But I always say when, some years back when I was a journalist, there was a quote I still remember from Harold Wilson, who was the Prime Minister for Britain. He used to say that I too am an optimist. It's very interesting. His quote was, "I too am an optimist, but I always love to carry I always carry my umbrella with him." So for quite some time I didn't get it. How can an optimist be talking about umbrella? In Britain, as you know, it rains suddenly. So he said, even I'm an optimist, it won't rain, but I still carry my umbrella. So I hope it doesn't happen now. We don't have to sit in the umbrella today to enjoy the bonfire. So thank you, sir. Anand Sharma ji, please come over. He is the chair of this session. The co-chair is Kumkum Das Gupta. She is a senior editor with the Hindustan Times in New Delhi and has been earlier with Down to Earth, and then she moved on to Hindustan Times. She is looking after the part of the team of the editorial page. Am I right?
Yeah.
If I go wrong, please correct me. But I can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
please.
not for the record, but sometimes if you see very sensible editorials in Hindustan Times, it is her.
No, we don't give our names.
Come on.
Names.
So there are no names, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes
team
when
is
you see
good,
the
so
good
it's
editorials, I know she's always concerned about these kinds of issues, which normally, as we said in the morning, the economists are not concerned with ecology issues. But here is a journalist who's a senior journalist who's always concerned with the issues that we are talking about today. So thank you, Kumkum, for coming all the way from Delhi to be here with us. Sir, you have four. So in this session we have 4 speakers, and we were supposed to start at 4:15, but 15 minutes delay is okay. Sir, the session is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Devendra ji, for giving me this opportunity. And I think our job has become much easier now. We already know the services provided by the Himalayas. But, this worth we want to really know, is it under-recognized? And actually, I feel it's under-recognized, and that's why there is no compensation. So more recognition is needed, and this kind of workshop will definitely give it more recognition. And I would, because I'm a weatherman, so people used to say, weather department को तो बंद कर देना चाहिए, कि वो पैसे मांगते रहते हैं radar के लिए, satellite के लिए. So then we thought it's better we quantify what we are doing. So our department asked economics survey people to do a survey. So then we proved it. I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. Like I was in Dehradun, so I used to tell farmers कि भाई अभी जैसे winter season है, they have a wheat crop, so they need to irrigate, especially when the crop is 20 to 25 days. So we used to tell, look, we have a western disturbance coming and it is going to give you rain. So postpone or do not irrigate your crops. So now if the rain comes, the farmer saves the irrigation. And the cost of one irrigation is about 500 rupees per hectare. And Uttarakhand had about 7 lakh hectares of irrigated area. So can you imagine, one good forecast can save 7 lakh hectares into 500 rupees. So I have already earned my salary for the next few years and even for my staff. So this, how the services, like especially the climate services can help. Similarly, these kind of services are equally important and they need to be recognized, they need to be quantified, and we have the experts with us who are like Dr. Wani, I already know, we have interacted in the past. We have Dr. Somnath Bandyopadhyay, Dr. Lalit Kumar, Dr. Anil Vaidya, all are experts and they're going to share with their methodologies, and especially Bandyopadhyay I was talking to him, he said these are all figures. We should know how to read these figures. That's very, very important. So let us hear our experts. Ma'am, you would like to say something? Yeah, I would like Madam Kumkum Dasgupta to say a few words.
It's nothing. I mean, thank you very much for having me here. This is the first time I'm coming to a conference like this. And while writing lots of editorials, because of my background in down to earth, I used to think that why don't people understand that nature has some value? I think today I've got the answer, because probably as a communication person, we have not been, as journalists, we have not been able to tell people probably in figures, numbers, that this is the value nature gives us. And unless and until I think we do that, people will just not realize that what we have and what we are losing very fast. Thank you. Thank you.
So without wasting much time, I call upon Dr. Wani, who is Registrar with the Sher-e-Kashmir University of Agriculture and Technology, Srinagar.
For the chairman of the session, co-chair, experts from different regions, ladies and gentlemen, especially students. I have been to this place earlier also and shared my views on the ecosystem services. A lot has been said by Dr. Ruchi, Dr. Lalit, Jairaj, and I'm sure that they have left very little for me to discuss anymore. Anyways, I come from Himalayas, and Jammu and Kashmir is the northernmost state. I'll not talk about much that what is the geographical position and how does that geographical position affect the ecosystems. Because I think that an insight has been given into the subject very comprehensively. But well, one word to be added here: inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is the sum total of all the technologies that have been developed which are location specific in nature in Himalayas. This is in contradiction to what do we have in plains. For example, a variety of rice will be better cultivated in the subtropical region all across, but in the mountainous states and hill states you will have location specificities involved in it because of the fact that microclimate changes every 30-40 kilometers. As a matter of fact, you have to devise technologies very different from one area to the another area. So when we talk about inclusiveness, the inclusiveness comes from the small portions of the land where you have technologies which are location specific in nature. That is one clarification before going into details of the subject I wanted to make here. Organization of my presentation is that the mountains is a natural resource. You know that the mountains and hill states are efficient in ecosystem services. They provide fresh glacial water for irrigation and drinking purposes to the downstream population. That is one. Then they have ecosystem services in terms of the forest ecosystem to share with the people. Then they have tourism, and one of the very important services they provide is the entertainment of the people who come to these areas to have some solace out of all that burning sensation that they have in the downstreams. So, but then again at the same time, these are fragile ecosystems, broken everywhere. And the physical setting is complete distinct in these areas in terms of the policy support, because of the fact that in all the northeastern and northwestern hill states, there are only 42 members who go to the parliament, and they are divided lot. They have their alliance with the different national parties, but they cannot, as a matter of fact, they cannot place before the House their demands to see this rich biodiversity conserved. Had they been working under a single umbrella, then definitely our voice would have been heard. That is one of the very important factors that governs our mountain ecosystem. That is why we need a distinct support because of our geographical situation. That's very important. Because of our fragility, because of our inaccessibility, because of our poor mobility. So these are the factors that govern the mountain ecosystem. These culminate into the slackened growth process and a lack of inclusiveness. I have given a reason why these are not inclusive, because of the location specificities. Then these are not inclusive because of the lesser policy support. Then these are not inclusive because we do have tradable commodities, but they don't have the markets actually. And that is one of the reasons that why these are not inclusive. Then it is sustainability could have been there, very well managed, but provided we would have followed the system of the nature. That is where we go into the complete distinction and contradiction with the nature. And then what are the inclusions of the ecosystem components and their valuation? I will talk about it later, and some of my case studies. And fragile geophysical setting. I don't want to talk much about all these things, but marginality is one of the words that I have used here. Marginal lands, productive but less productive compared to other lands which are in the downstream areas. Marginal lands, because it is an uphill task. That is why we cannot channelize our technologies through our extension system. That is why these are marginalized. Marginal, because no policy support. That is what restricts all development. That is why we call that there is a marginality. So that is one factor on the one hand. But on another very important thing is that we have niche areas to be exploited, in which we are distinct. For example, high quality goods, say apple, Himachal Pradesh, say or in Kashmir, say dry fruits, walnuts, almond, say saffron, costliest these things, say zira, white, black. These are such, say honey in Jammu and Kashmir, we are second to New Zealand only in the world. These are niche areas. But where is the exploitation of the niche areas and channelization of the policies? That is where we do really lack this kind of a thing, an instrument with the people, so that we could make our resources more productive. Then there is degradation and vulnerability. That is one of the very important things that actually contributes to the slackened growth process and lack of inclusiveness. Say for example, Himalayan glacier system. This is the Indian Himalayan glacier system. Jammu and Kashmir has 62% of the glacier, while Uttarakhand has 18%. And then Himachal Pradesh and Sikkim are equally likely, around 8.58%. And then Arunachal Pradesh, it has the minimum of 3.2. The question is that despite the fact that we have a very strong glacier system, but then approximately 443 gigatons of glacier ice has been lost. Then again, the rate of glacial loss in the Himalayas has accelerated over the decades from merely 9 gigatons per year in 1975-85 to 20 gigatons per year in 2000-2010. You see the rate of degradation of these natural resources. Best estimates of globally averages surface air warming vary between 1.8 to 4 degrees centigrade. This is a matter of concern. Where do we go from here? That actually is to be seen in a broader dimension. Then fast depleting resources, unpredictable weather. You have seen Kashmir, you have seen Uttarakhand, you have seen Ladakh, you have seen these areas. That what kind of, actually we have played with the nature and we are being repaid in the same coin as we did with the nature itself. One of the persons asked me that what happened to this Dal? Where is Dal during the floods? मैंने कहा कि यार इसने हमें कुछ नहीं किया. It has not entered into our territory. We have entered into its territory. What happened to Jhelum? वो meandering जो Jhelum की थी, उसमें एक natural drainage area था. It was like this, zigzag. Everywhere there was, drainage area, and once there would be a lot of water, it would flow on the left and the right. But we played with it. We constructed, buildings. Even government constructed medical, hospitals, schools, and colleges in that area. And then the resultant output was that the Dal area, which was some time back in 1275 square kilometer, to your surprise, I want to inform you that it rose to the same level after the floods. And I told that person that Dal has done nothing. It has occupied its own territory. This is how we have played with this, and then poor productivity of crops and untapped potential for horticulture sector, which is our main, source of our economy. I would not talk about much about this per capita availability of food in Himalayas. No. Sustenance, we have a possibility of just sustaining our ecosystem. Why? Because if we follow the green economy concept, green economy concept was in vogue in all the Himalayan states. And I will talk about Jammu and Kashmir. I have seen myself, water transport. Not much far away. Water transport from Srinagar to district Baramulla, water transport. They would go through the water, through this Jhelum only, they would go and reach their own destination. That was one. We do have potential for certain areas to keep them under that kind of a green economy framework. So once you have the natural capital, this makes you able, green economy, to recognize its value and then to invest in the green economy. You see a very simple example. Oftenly we talk in Punjab. I have been here for pretty long time during my bachelor's and master's and during my PhD also. So I have seen growing the crops and all that kind of a green manuring and other things. So you see that when you invest in the same land, it repays you back. For example, a simple case of green manuring. You invest in it, it repays you back more than what you invest in it. And then it reduces environmental risks, because once you plant trees, it gives you strength for your forests, for your uplands, for your terraced areas and all that. It reduces the erosion, and it increases your volume of the ice, which is very important. So then it creates employment for all, because you have not given a thought to it. How does it create the employment? What are the differentiated goods that are being produced in these Himalayas? What is the value? It's an internationally traded goods. Brand name sells everywhere else. This is a Kashmiri saffron. This is from Himachal. This is from Uttaranchal. This is from this place. This is from Northeast. And then once you see all these goods branded by their name, it has a different kind of a value in the international market. That is what we have not seen, or we have not been made able to see that part of our resources. Then livelihood and food security for all. It mitigates climate change, better. It sustains natural resources, doesn't allow them to go to deteriorate beyond a particular point of optima. And then the ultimate resultant of all these things is that human well-being. That is where we have to compare ourselves, where some years before, some decades before, and where we are now. That will give you a comparable estimate of our ecology and environment. Now, typical about mountains is that 24% of the surface area is the home of 12% global population and 1/4 of planet's biodiversity. What does it contain? It contains forests, it contains water, it contains climate, it contains energy. Even if you go to Ladakh now, you will see a lot of energy being used for running the pumps. for getting the electricity, because the speed of the wind is 90 kilometers per hour. So these are some of the very such things which are available in these areas, in uplands, which are not available in the downstream population, downstream areas. Then you have hydropower. We have worth 1 lakh crore potential for hydropower. Then you have biogas, you have microclimate regulation. It regulates even beyond its geographical boundaries. That means if there is some change in the climate in Jammu and Kashmir, it has an effect on Punjab, it has an effect in Delhi, it has an effect elsewhere. So then, forests, the Himalayan people, they own the forests, they nurture the forests, they nurture these natural resources. But okay, for some of the reasons we are not ever allowed to do so. At some point of time when it is needed in the downstream population, we don't object to that. We certainly don't object to that because they are our brethren and we have to support it. Is that it should be a mutual understanding, it should be a mutual trade between the upstream population and the downstream population. But at what cost, that is to be seen. Is it at the cost of all those resources being getting exhausted? Is it at the cost of all those, that kind of a deterioration that takes place? Should it be at the cost of all the glacial volume that we have should be got lost? Should it be at the cost of all those ecosystem services that we provide? No. But there has to be a balance between the extraction, between the usage of those, between the exploitation of those resources, so that we can keep a balance between these states and low-lying areas, so that they are also made prosperous and allowed to do whatever they would like to with their own resources. A typical view of the mountains. This is a mountain environment. You have horticulture, you have livestock, you have rangelands, you have agriculture, you have forests. Then changed consumption pattern, that's off-farm employment, lack of market structure, environmental change, reduced per capita cultivable land, microclimate vulnerability. There is water conflicts everywhere, you see every now and then. There is soil degradation. Then these are the characteristics, inaccessibility I said about, fragility, marginality, mobility, human intervention, population growth, niche areas, adaptive strategies. So then the policy change, food insecurity, how to make it secure. Then out migration, we have to put a brake on it. We have to provide those kind of avenues to these people there where they live. And then poor medical facilities we have to improve, because this is one of the very important factors that makes them move from their own areas to their own downstream areas. Then lack of proper education. This is another a determinant of the poverty and other indexes in these areas. So we need to create these kind of the policies to address these kind of the situation, to see that the mountain environment is rationally used and exploited for betterment. Yeah, well, I think that this has been talked about, total economic value framework, biodiversity services, this has been talked about, supporting, provisioning, regulating, cultural, and this has been, Dr. Rushi has dealt in comprehensively on these issues. I don't want to do much about it, but I would come to the case study of Dal Lake, just to give you a simple feel of, next please, what has happened with the Dal. You see, these are the services that it provides farmers, fishermen, shikara owners. You see, this is the quantum of the revenue that they get, and net revenue I would focus on 56,000 in case of farmers, 21,000 in case of fishermen, 84,000 in case of shikara owners. You know shikara, it is that kind of a transport used in the Dal, small boats. Next please, 8,000. Then houseboat owner, 1,25,000. Transporter 72, everybody is well off, and everybody is taking all that kind of the service from this and uses it for its upliftment and betterment. But who thinks about the Dal? Now this is the domestic tourism and this is the international tourism, 99,000 and 99 lakhs, 9,92,000 and 58,439. The total is 10.50 lakhs. And if you will see the spending of the domestic tourists, 1,791, and in case of international tourists per day, 2,785. So all these things are happening in Dal. But now, what is the shrinking area? 75 kilometers square in 1280, 25 kilometers 1980, 67% decrease in 7 to 8 centuries. And what is now? 11.4 kilometers square, 54% decrease in 2.5 decades only. So in the last 25 years, a major deterioration in case of the Dal has been done on account of these manifestations: greenish appearance on the Dal, sedimentation at the Dal bank, growth of the houseboats and their movement. And this is the encroachment, expanding agricultural activity. Nobody takes care of it, and the government doesn't give any kind of the attention towards. So Dal restoration, government interventions. Just 2 minutes, sir. I will just finish it. I will summarize it this way, that all the kind of the activities, whatever has been taken, it has been taken, rather the directions which have been given were given by the Honorable Supreme Court of India and the Honorable High Court of Jammu and Kashmir in respect of the Dal restoration. And there were many packages which were given by the central government, the Prime Minister's package of 237 crores, and merely 666 families of these Dal dwellers was shifted to the other areas. There was a program of creating around 10,000 small houses for these people to be shifted from the Dal for its restoration, which has not yet taken place. This is the strength in the form of the willingness to pay, a technique that is very important for us to know what is the value of the services that are being provided by the Dal, by any kind of a system, whether it is a lake ecosystem, whether it is a river ecosystem. And these are all on the basis of the approximations and the survey. We have asked people who are historians, who are visitors, who are national or international, who are scientists, who are doctors, who are engineers, and then taken an average of those, that what kind of the amount, the lump sum amount, or monthly or quarterly, they would be able to give us for restoration of the Dal, and what would it culminate into after. So we have seen that the total revenue generated by the Dal at existing area, that is 11.4 kilometers square, is 31,837 lakh rupees, and average revenue attributed to 1 square kilometer of the Dal is 2,793 lakh rupees, and then additional revenue, if 25% restoration, 50% and 100% is made, to what level it would go. And this is the kind of the gains that we would have: extra visitors, extra events, then extra stay, then invite others, then value of the gains, then extra visitors, extra events of the different gardens and all that, and the percentage gains per tourist would, how much it would be. This we are keeping here, I think, for our students to take to use this kind of a study for evaluating the ecosystem services. I will not divulge on this. Next, please. But a simple an analysis that approximately the number of years to recover the cost of rehabilitation is 13.08 years. This study has been published by the Springer, and this was submitted to Dr. Mr. N.N. Voraji, Honorable Governor of the Jammu and Kashmir State, who rated it as a very good study and appreciated that this is the kind of the policy that we would be needing in case of the restoration of the Dal. Next, please. So there is another study. I will not talk about it. That is for Jhelum, that how it has ultimately got degraded, and what was the ultimate loss during the floods of 2004. I have used advanced techniques to evaluate these systems, and my friend Dr. Lajil was telling that there is a lot of it gets misappropriated, but at some point of time I have taken care of this by using propensity score modeling for assessment of the equally likely cases to see that the results are uniformly distributed. Yeah. Kashmir flood, September 2, 2014. Heavy monsoons led to massive flooding. Flood alert sounded by the government. Worst floods in 100 years, 150 dead. Prime Minister declares national emergency. Approximately 400 people dead. 2,500 villages impacted. 450 completely submerged. 50 bridges. 253 houses. 262 lakh structures, 3.27 and 3.97 lakh hectares of the agriculture and horticultural land and tourism sector suffered heavy damages, and over 600,000 people remained stranded in valley. 1 trillion loss was estimated for Kashmir division alone, and this all is because of our interference into its system, into its main into its drainage area. That is how nature has paid us very badly. I wish that everybody joins together to see that our natural resources are intact, especially in Himalayas. Take some sort of initiative collectively to see that these ecosystems get restored, get maintained, so that everybody takes a benefit out of it. Thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing.
Thank you. We'll take questions later on.